Sound applause. All right, so I know nobody's here yet, but if anybody would like to learn how to actually set up a brake rotor on a brake lathe, how to machine a rotor, that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. Let me show you the rotor we are working with. All right, we are going to be doing a set of rotors off of a Toyota Camry. One of the calipers got locked up. They've got pretty heavy rusting and pitting and grooves, so I expect to have to make a couple of passes on this, but I'm going to show you how to properly set up the brake lathe, and then we'll get into the ASMR part of machining this. All right, so first off, and I'm going to back you guys up here so you can see what I'm doing. This is a West brake lathe. It is very similar to the old school AccuTurn. So if you have an AccuTurn in your shop, this will be similar but different. All right, so on this one, we need to make sure this is loose. We're going to back this up. And since this is much wider than the solid rotors we cut last time, we need to open up the bit. We need to go ahead and loosen this up. Loosen them all the way up. And in all actuality, we're going to take our little handy dandy brush, which is going to knock off all the dust on the last few sets of rotors we've done. Make sure everything moves and does like it's supposed to. Should have done this last night. Normally I do this every night. Anyway, so, alright, we got our little rough cleaning going. So I already know that the hub or this cone is the one we need. Let me make sure y'all can see where we're at. Alright. So always make sure that this fits inside the back of the rotor before fully mounting it. Like, make sure it fits inside of there. You know what I'm saying? So you have your cup, you got your little spring in there, put your little centering piece on, then take your rotor, slide it on, hold it back, take your other cup, slide it on, and what I like to do is I like to just spin it, just to make sure it's up on its own, even. Take your other spacing tools, slide them on, and you take your nut, and this is a left-handed nut, so you gotta go the opposite direction you would normally go. Put it on, lock the whole thing down, get it good and tight. All right, so this one, the one going left to right, is already out all the way. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to loosen this nut. We're going to slide the bits over and try and center it up where they're already about evenly gapped to the rotor. And do it eyeball visually. Because we can open them up more, we can unscrew them. Now we're going to try and slide our silencer band on here. There's a couple of different ways you can go about this, but since this band is pretty much maxed out on every fucking rotor I put it on, but you want to put your silencer band on. I'm going to try and get it, all the little weights centered up. This is going to help reduce your vibration, your squeaking, your squealing as this thing is cutting. All right, so now we got all that done. Over here, we have, on this machine, we have the speed dial. We're going to turn this back to rough cut because we're going to need to make multiple passes to get this rotor true. And then you have the on-off, you got disc and drum. So we need to flip it towards the disc. All right, so now we got all this turning. All right, now we're going to come over here and mess with all this. So I'm going to try and keep this all in view so you guys can see what I'm doing. All right. We're going to be cautious. I'm going to open these up just a little bit more to make sure we do not make contact with the rotor as we go in. Like I said, these are off of a Toyota Camry that the calipers were locked up. We're going to be doing all 4 rotors, so please stay tuned. But at any rate, so in order to set this up, there are 2 dials here. Okay, just so you guys can see this. All right, so you have an inner dial and an outer dial. See how that? Oh shit! See how this turns independently? Sorry, this is why you use 2 hands for this, but okay, so I'm going to use this outer piece to move the bit, that piece in to where it barely touches the rotor, and then you rotate the inner dial to 0, just like that. Okay, and once you get to 0, you then back it off, which would be towards the higher number, to open it up so you don't drag the bit all the way in. You don't want to dull it down. So I'm going to do this real quick, but that's what I'm doing. Okay, again, I'm trying to do this so anybody trying to learn how to turn a rotor, this is how you do it. All right, so this one actually turns back-asswards. It's a left-handed thread. But you bring it in, you just want to barely make it touch. See, I'm going really slow. You hear that? It's barely touching. All right, so I'm going to hold the outer one. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm going to hold this outer one. Now I'm going to spin the inner one where it lines up at 0. Right there, okay? So that's lined up on 0. Now we're going to do the other side. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to back it off now. See how you don't hear that sound no more? Okay. Now, let me turn on this light so that way... Does that make it even better? Is that better? Alright. Hopefully that's better. Alright, so now we're going to do this one. This one turns in the correct way. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Same thing though. I'm going to hold the knob so it doesn't move on me. I'm going to rotate this dial. I should have went the other way, but it don't matter. And the same thing this one. I'm going to loosen it up so that way it's open. Now we're going to go ahead and run this in. All right, it's okay if it touches a little bit here and there. That's different high and low spots in the rotor. This is why, as you know, it's going to take multiple passes to get this thing clean. Hopefully not too many, because it don't sound too terrible. All right, so now we're past all the rust and we're as far in as we can go. So that way we make sure that all the brake pad surface will be cleaned up. We don't really care about the areas that the brake pad doesn't ride. However, we are going to try and make sure we get as much of the rotor as clean and as true and straight as possible. So that's the best bet, is to overshoot and come back past it. So, anyway, now what you do is you take your knob, do not mess with the inner one. You come back to 0. Now I'm going to bring you guys down here so you can see this. See how there's little dots on here? Each one of these dots is worth 0.02 of an inch. All right, so we're going to go to the second dot, which would be 0.04 of an inch. So we're going to be cutting off a total of 0.08 of an inch this pass. Now, basically, a lot of the discard stuff is in millimeters. 0.40 of an inch equals 1 millimeter. It's actually a cunt hair over, but it's close enough to we're going to call that good. But anyway, so when we talk about discard and all this other bullshit, so, all right, so that's 0.04. All right, bring this one back to 0. Turn it in 0.04. Now, on this particular machine, we need to lock this knob down. Okay, we got to lock this knob down. All right. If you don't, you get extra vibration and chatter and other bullshit. But lock this one down, lock this one down. This this machine has a actual speed that it will change on the arbor. I typically leave it on the 140 setting. Is the one I just leave it on. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any questions or anything like that, please chime in, ask away. I am a professional technician. I got other stuff to do. So once I get these rotors spinning, I got a starter I got to do. But so far, we're getting ready to take our first rough cut. All right, you can see that the rotor's not quite true. You can see the different spots where the bit was hitting a little bit. All right, we've got everything set in there. You guys saw that. Let's adjust the angle of the dangle here. So all we got to do now, we got everything running. All we got to do is flip this switch right here, and it's going to proceed to do its thing. So y'all sit back and enjoy and watch that. I got to get the other one off and get it spinning on the other machine. All right, so just so y'all can see, this is one before we start. This is one that's definitely gotten overheated. You can see how tore up it is. I mean, this isn't super bad, but we're gonna make this perfect. It'll be mint when we're done, okay? We're not done. We gotta make a couple more passes. Don't worry. So it's not a besides that, we got this rear also. show you how to switch up the cylinder. So here it is slightly different. I gotta double check. And I think these are still vented in the rear, but they're a lot smaller. Alright, so again, we're going to spin this one around to the rough cut. Just so y'all can see both machines real quick. But I'm working on the other one real fast. Alright, so we're on the rough cut. That's the dial there. We got this one loose, we got this one loose. Go ahead and check our beginning thickness here. 27.49 millimeters. I don't like the way that. Alright, 27.3 millimeters. Alright, anyway, turn this on. I'm gonna run this in. Same thing. Tear a little brush here. That's all our bits. Gotta have clean bits, guys. Don't let the bits get dirty, man. That's good. Alright. Like I said, this is the side that's definitely out of repeated like a champ. Like the calipers are straight up locked up. That beating sound y'all heard earlier was me trying to get it off. And then we're going to make a 4,000 pass. And deal with going to 0, then I'll go to like a dot. I'm going to lock this down, lock this down, make sure this one is locked down. Right, send it. Alright, this one. Alright, we're going to unlock this. We're going to go in. Now you guys are probably like, hold on, Ed. You got to unlock. No. Leave this locked up. We're going to go in. It should not touch. Especially if everything's really getting machined correctly. It shouldn't, it should not make any contact. Alright. We're in. Now, we're going to go ahead and lock this one back down. Open this up. Now, we already know where 0 started and where we're at, so we're going to just go in another 4,000. Another 4,000. So now we're at a total of 15 thousandths off the total rotor. We're going to make another fast pass. The reason why I would show y'all on both sides, but as you can see, you got a little shiny spot here, trying to get it flattened out and smooth before we go to the finished touch. This side, it's not as bad as this side, but it's kind of in the middle. Do y'all want to see the other side real fast? I'll show you the other side real quick. Hang on. See what I'm saying? It's got that one little spot. So, anyway. Go ahead and get y'all set back up. Alright, off we go. thing down here, you guys, we're going to make another pass. We're going to turn that off. So we'll get the bone, unlock this, put it back in. Alright, lock that back down, unlock this. Another 4,000. Another 4,000. Total 8,000 so far. 8 sides. Flip the switch and pull that back. This one's almost done. Looks like we're going to have to make one more fast pass. Now again, it's just to show you guys how this stuff kind of works. You see how we still don't have a perfectly flat side on this side, right? On this side of the rotor, we've already got a perfectly true, straight, flat side. So this is just so you guys can understand. I had solid rotors yesterday, and one side of the rotor was flat on the first pass. The back side, only half the rotor was flat. Only half the rotor got touched. So it took multiple passes in order for it to actually get cleaned up, and it was actually a brand new rotor. So this is why machining rotors is so important, and shops out there need to bring it back. And if y'all are a shop and you don't do this kind of thing, y'all need to knock it off. If you have a machine in the corner and you don't know how to use it, this is why we're doing this. Rewind to the beginning. I show you how to set this shit up. It's not friggin' hard. It's not rocket science. You know what I'm saying? I was taught this shit way back in the 90s. So I've been doing this stuff for a very long time. Shops need to stop being parts hangers and go back to being actual shops. You know what I'm saying? These are aftermarket rotors, but, you know, I'm just going to get these things straight. We're going to stop yapping. We're going to stop preaching for the month. But this is something we used to do all the time, all day long back in the day, and it stopped because rotors became very cheap and inexpensive to buy from China, and people didn't want to pay the extra labor. You know, people are like not valuing their technicians at that time correctly. Hence why we're kind of in the position we're in now, where y'all are seeing, hey, we're offering $100,000 and people can't fill the spots. Well, that's because a lot of them aren't trained. They don't know how to do stuff. Like myself personally, and embarrassingly enough, I don't know how to rebuild a fucking starter or an alternator. I never had to. And I come along in the 90s, and when I started in this business, nobody rebuilt friggin' alternator or starters. We just got remanufactured stuff. There was one place in town, and they're still open now, here in Virginia Beach, called Brownings. They will rebuild the stuff here on the spot, kind of thing for you, which is cool. But you know, that's something like I never learned to do. Like, you talk to a real old timer, like guys I grew up with in the business, they rebuilt wheel cylinders, they rebuilt water pumps, they rebuilt fucking everything. They knew how to do all of it. They're like, I don't know how to do any of that shit. And I mean, you know, again, where the industry's at, like, I'm partially to blame. You know, I am one of the technicians that went along with, fuck yeah, I'm going, you know, I was working at a shop at that time that paid more for use to sell shit than they did. They didn't pay by the billable hour, they paid by the total ticket. So it was like, hell yeah, sell them rotors. You know what I'm saying? Plus to me, I'm like, oh, it's so easier now, you gotta just slap them on. But especially over 30 years, I've just noticed, you know, there's a lot of customers that come back a year and a half later, and they're like, Man, these things are chattering, these things are squeaking, these things are squealing. They're not that old, and yeah. The whole problem is that you're slapping on an inferior metal that wasn't perfectly straight in the first place. And it won't perfectly straight right out the box. Same thing, this side is actually perfectly straight already. This side, you gotta make another tap. Hopefully this will be our last fast pass. We can do a finishing touch. We're looking for that little silver streak to disappear. Oh, shit. It looks like we're going to have to do one more fast pass. Loosen this up. Again, we know where we're at. It shouldn't touch. Everything is perfectly straight and lined up and through on the machine. And if it's installed correctly, you should not have it. It shouldn't drag. So we'll lock this back down. Unlock this. Turn it in another 4,000. Another 4,000. Lock this back down again, flip the switch, and on for another fast pass. So if you guys like this, I will be also doing the rotors on my 1989 Honda Accord later. I know that they're in definitely need of a good machining. They will chatter your fucking teeth. And again, please, like I said, I'm trying to teach everybody how to actually use these machines. I want this video to be a tutorial. That's why I'm trying not to overly talk too much. But if you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments. Hit the hearts and like buttons and all that kind of good shit. I really appreciate it. It would help me out. YouTube does not like me or this channel. They don't like us being able to help people learn why certain things need to be brought back. There's reasons why. And we're going to show y'all. like I said, this is off of a Toyota Camry from, I don't know, I think 2002. The calipers are locked up, so we're going to be replacing the calipers and everything else on this vehicle. But that's why these rotors are kind of as bad as they are. Well, A, they're aftermarket rotors, but B, they're kind of messed up. Now, I'm going to turn this off because I want to show y'all. Pick y'all up real fast. Hang on. I just want y'all to see. Hang on, maybe zoom in a little bit. All right, so the surface on here is actually pretty acceptable. Like, this is not bad and would be sufficient to go ahead and put on the car, but we can do better than this, and that's what we're going to do. So we have over here a speed button for the extra, or the rough cut. We can do a finish cut, and then we're going to do an extra fine. Since we now have it true and straight, and the rotor is actually, here, let me set it down. Like, you can see the surface is looking pretty good. And like, to touch it, it don't feel bad, but like, I can feel just a little roughness. We can see it right there, just that little bit of rough spot right there. We're gonna unfuck that. We're gonna get that straight and squared away. So we're gonna go ahead and make an extra finish pass on this. We're gonna skip the regular finish pass because the rough cut has come out so good. Hang on. So we want to leave y'all zoomed in for the extra finish pass. All right. So all I'm gonna do is that over here on the dial, we're just going to turn the dial simply over here all the way maxed out to as maximum finish as we can get. And what that does is that speed or slows down how fast it pulls back the bits there. So I want to get y'all set up. Hang on. Zoom out just a little bit so y'all can enjoy the super finish cut. All right. Now on this one, I typically only go 2,000. And again, we're just trying to make it buttery, silky, satiny smooth. What's up, honey? Give me just a second. We're shooting live. Kind of teaching young how to use a brake lead. Huh? Well, how to use a brake lead and how to screw out rotors. Yeah, we're live on YouTube right now. Sorry, you guys, my catalytic converter got shut up. So. It's all good. Let's just give it a second. All right. Alright, so now we're just going to go, get this loose, get that locked down, go 2,000, lock this back down, and flip the switch and y'all enjoy. Now on the other one, just so you guys know, we're making another fast cut. It still isn't quite true just yet. I am going to go pull up the discard specs and all that for these, just so we can take a measurement after we're all done, so we can show you exactly, how much we took off. Just so you guys can understand the difference between a fast pass and extra finish pass. Y'all are still waiting on the extra finish pass, so you can see the difference there between the super smooth and the kind of smooth. We just did a whole fast pass over there. So I can zoom out if y'all want, but I'm pretty sure y'all want to stay zoomed in where you can see it. What's up, guy? Voting does nothing. Satanists and governments worldwide are organizing the global food report. I mean, you say so. I mean, I don't disagree that politicians are bad. And if you really feel that way, their voting does nothing, that's all the more reason why you need to watch this video and learn how to do this and be self-reliant and fix old shit. So therefore, they can't fuck with you. They don't want people to know how to do this old school stuff, dude. Your grandfathers, your great grandfathers, they all knew how to do this stuff. This is like common knowledge type shit. And the fact that they were able to do this stuff, and it was all like secondhand, everybody, it was like, everybody did this every day, kind of thing, back in the day. They don't want you to be self-reliant. They want you to have to rely on buy. So don't be those people. Learn how to fix things. Watch the rest of this. This thing's going to come out beautiful. If you guys are enjoying this, please like and subscribe. We're doing the extreme finish pass now. Just a little more. Let me zoom y'all in. Oh, that's not a good definition. Here, we're zooming out so you can see both of them. This one's almost done. So again, you know, yes, this does take extra time because like this is a beginning to end of how to machine the rotor. It's been an hour, obviously. Y'all can see by a little clicker counter. So when people are like, why do you all charge an hour? Well, I've got two machines running. This is two rotors, and each rotor has taken an hour's time. And again, these rotors were pretty messed up. So the way it works out is that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But for the technician, you get an overall better finished product. The customer gets a better finished product. The customer saves money. If they didn't spend the money on the rotors, they did spend it on your extra labor. But again, it's justified. So for the technician, if somebody's doing it fairly and correctly, they're charging an hour extra for the machine time. Now, most shops are not going to have two brake blades, so they're not going to be able to benefit like I am, where you're able to get two rotors done in 1 hour. It would actually take 2 hours, but you see that satiny smooth finish? Like, this is just silky, silky smooth. All right. And y'all can rewind all the way to the beginning to see what this rotor looked like at the beginning. But it is super silky smooth. Like, to feel it, it feels like glass. It's that soft and satin. So let me grab the micrometer. Get y'all a measurement here. All right. So we're measuring in at 26 point, what was it? Oh, damn it. Now, make sure we ain't got no gunk underneath it there. 26.6 millimeters. All right. Now, I gotta go double check, but I'm pretty sure that the discard is like 26 millimeters exactly. So basically, yes, the discard on this is 26 millimeters exactly. So we still got over 0.6 millimeters left after machining. So more than likely, these would actually be able to be machined again before they are at the discard limit or just above it. At any rate, good saving. All right, so stay tuned. We're going to now do the rear rotors. Alright, well, good news. You guys will be able to see in the same video how to set up rear, well, solid rotors and vented rotors. Because what we just seen, what we're finishing up now on the other lathe, those are vented rotors. This vehicle on the rear has got solid rotors. So it is a slightly different setup. I mean, a lot of the basic stuff is the same. Alright? These things are thick up. Wow! Alright. So, as y'all can see, this is what we're starting out with. This is rigged up. Okay, so this is what they call a solid rotor. Alright. It has a drum on the inside. We don't really need to worry about that so much. That's only for the emergency brake, and that don't look terrible. So, loosen that up. Make sure that's all the way back. Same thing. Make sure it fits inside. Make sure that your centerpiece fits good. Alright, we get all that on there. Put that on there. Put the lock nut on, and again, the lock nut is back halfward. It is locking or left-handed. Now I'm going to spin it around here to make sure it looks nice and straight, and lock it down. And you can grab the whole thing, give it a good twist with your hands if you're strong enough. So give that a good turn. Now this is already pretty much as far in as it'll go. We're going to loosen this up because again, the more metal you got on here, the better. Especially for something like this, you're going to want it. So, we're going to take this strap out of the way. Because something like this, you're not going to be able to use it. We're going to use the brass silencer at the back. Matter of fact, we're going to use that set up. We're going to loosen that all up. Get these to where they are kind of centered. Alright. Lock this down at the back here. And what you want to do is you want to bring that in to where it makes contact, and then basically push in on it just a little bit because this is spring loaded. That actually moves smoother than that. Alright, just a little bit of tension. You ain't gotta go crazy ham on it. Just a little bit right now. This should dampen and silence any noise or bullshit. Now, since we're having to do this other setup, and this is kind of, I'm trying to do like a little tutorial here. Get out of the way, box. Alright, so in this instance here, I'm going to just show y'all. See how far off we are? What we're going to do is you're going to loosen up this knob, and then we're going to spin this handle back this way, and that's going to move over. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stand here and kind of get it to where it's about center. That looks about center. Looks about center. All right, cool. All right, so now make sure you turn and lock this back down once you've done all that. So we're definitely going to need to make some fast passes here. So turn your knob back from finish pass up to rough cut. And basically it's the same procedure from here on out. We've got silencers all set up. We're going to loosen this one, make sure that one's locked in at the moment. We're going to put it on disc mode. We're going to go in and the moment we're going to snug up this handle which moves in and out. We're going to make this one loose. We're going to bring this in evenly if possible. Make it touch. Just barely, you just want it to barely touch. Remember, get back to 0. Hold your outer one with your thumb. Bring it to 0. Back it off. Bring it in. Make it barely touch. Hold the outer one with the inner one to 0. Back it off. This is so we're not dragging the bits. So we're going to lock this down now. Now we're going to go in. You may have high spots. If you have a spot like that, just start going slower. This is going to show you how uneven rotors can get. Now out here we were barely touching. Okay, this is after I backed it off. What was it? I backed it off 4 thousandths after that. Alright, so we're past all the rust, we're past all the bullshit. Alright, we went in, just got here too far there, but it's fine. It's no big deal. Alright, so we're going to lock this one back down for the handle that moves it in. We're going to unlock this one. We're going to go back to 0. Because this is a solid rotor, we're only going to go 2 thousandths on each side, each pass. Yes, it will take longer, but if you try to go too hard or too heavy on a solid rotor, it will sing its ass off and it will not turn out good. So this is a fast pass on a solid rotor. I'm not sure what went wrong here, dude. That's going to definitely just touch it. Maybe I didn't sit this side. How much not? it's like that when you get out to that rough, rusty edge. But just so you'll know, the rotor that was on that machine, it came out at 26.45 millimeters. So again, 0.45 millimeters over the discard. So well within spec. We're going to disable this. We're going to unlock that. Not sure what the fuck happened over here. We're going to unlock this. Leave zero that side. I'm not sure why I didn't have contact on this side, but this side is still complete rough. So that shouldn't happen. There we go. Either way, we got to make another pass on this side, so we're going to go all the way in. It might have happened because I wound up touching the bit thing too far on this side. That will sometimes fuck things up. Like it'll change where your 0 point is. That side's definitely touching now. Same thing, we're only going to go 2 thousandths on this side. This side, we're going to go 4 thousandths. Just try to catch it up, make it even. Hopefully, we don't have enough reason. Okay, so you guys see what I'm talking about with these solid rotors. They're a different breed. You know what I'm saying? Like these things, they like to sing, especially when you get out there in the rust. But we're making progress. Not quite true, not quite straight just yet. But that's what I was talking about earlier, where I drove the bit in just a little bit too far. Need to make a couple more cleanup passes here. We're going to keep the speed on the rough cut. We're just trying to roughly get it flat and straight. Again, we're only trying to do 2 thousandths at a time. We're trying to get just past the lip. Lock that one down. Unlock this. Another 2010. Another 2010. Lock this down. Send it. Alright, get this side. Again, just so y'all can see, this is the other side. This is what we're starting with. Fugly, fugly, ugly, nasty. Alright, pitted, shitty rotors. Alright. Alright, we're getting close. Like I said, again, solid rotors take longer. You got to be more patient with it. You can't just go ham. Like normally, I do 4 to 6 thousandths of an inch at a time on a pass. With a solid rotor like this, you really only want to do 2 thousandths of an inch per pass. The reason why is it will sing and vibrate like Again, with the solid rotors, you can't really put the vibration straps on them because they're so narrow. I know you guys are enjoying this one. What's up, guy? What's up, other person? So this is what I just want you guys to understand. This is why machining rotors is important. Okay. So we just made the first fast pass on this side. See how there's like pretty good contact way on the inside, but nothing really towards like anywhere else? Okay, look at this side. This side is almost already perfectly straight. So on a solid rotor, you can actually have a side that is pretty true and one side that is not true at all, because again, the bits didn't move. Matter of fact, we're going to switch from this one to this one, just so you guys can get a better learning experience here. All right. Now it might be a little bit louder because now y'all are right next to this other lady. But basically, we got to make another fast pass here on the one y'all were watching. That inside edge still isn't quite flat. Again, outside edge is, inside edge is not. All right. Put it back down. Send it. All right, so on this one, here we're going to stop this just so y'all can see. Like, I was touching on here, but I was knocking off the rust, I guess. Like, the only part that really kind of got hit was the lip here. So this side is already pretty straight. I'm going to get that spinning again. We're going to turn this off. There we go. Bring this back in. And because of what happened here, I'm going to re-zero this side. see if we can't get a clean pass this time. If everything's locked down, that's there, on that there, alright. Alright, so, as you guys can see, now we got a right good surface. And that's actually right smooth. So, we're going to go ahead and move this over to the extra finish. We're going to do a finish part. So, unlock this, move this back in. Alright, so lock that back down, unlock this, another 2,000, lock that back down, lock that down, and then send it. by tuning in. Please drop a comment, say hi. Don't let Guy be the only top fan out there. Guy is number one. Guy is number one. What's up, y'all? Blue Collar Life. This is my second one today already. And it's not quite 11 o'clock. 10:45.
Ooh, spiffy.
Hang on, turn that off, turn that off. Now, this is from the copper, or the brass silencers. That's been this bad boy off of there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's satin smooth. Get this off of here. Show y'all how good it is. And I'm gonna have to turn this off and unplug my phone, or not unplug, but plug it in. I'm sure it's about to die. It's been running for almost 2 hours. But so y'all can see the finished product. Nice, satiny smooth, absolutely no ridges. Came out fantastic. And I want to say it's got like a 10.5 millimeter discard. Let me grab the micrometer here, or the calipers, whatever y'all want to call them. All right, so you can see we're on 0. All right, we need to be above 10.5. Look at that. Still at 11.4. So we got plenty to still cut off for the next time. All right, thank you guys. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll let y'all finish watching this one. And then we'll turn this off. Because now I gotta put the calipers and shit on. I'm sure y'all don't want to watch that. This should give me an excuse to stall a little bit longer. I'd rather hang out here with brake lathe and cut rotors than put up with a or do other bullshit. Like, I got a starter job I really need to get started on, but man, I gotta fucking take out an engine mount and other bullshit to do this thing. It's like a fucking 3.5 hour job. And see, like, this is the whole thing. Like, here at my shop, again, I'm fortunate enough to have 2 rotors or 2 lathes to be able to get this job done twice as fast. We only charge an hour extra for the machining, half hour per rotor. Again, this thing had pretty bad rotors, but we got all 4 of them turned in 2 hours. The gist of the story is that, again, I want to get 3.5 hours because we're doing calipers on this thing, so I got to bleed it and all this other shit. So I want to get 7 hours for this car total, and it'll probably be like by lunchtime. So I started like after 8:30 because I didn't get here till 8:30. But that'll be 7 hours I'm logged in on one car, machining the rotors. The customer's going to get a better job. And yeah, like, I'd much rather do this than fucking do that starter job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would do 2 of these per day, kick back, relax, and make fucking 14 hours versus do 3 or 4 of them damn starter jobs, and you got to get them all done in the right time frame. There's one teeny tiny spot out here. I can't tell if it's just where the copper's riding. I think it was just a old rust lip. But how about we take one more pass at it? We'll just take one more teeny tiny pass. We all like that? Just one more? Because I just want to get this one little friggin' area out. Like, this is smooth to the touch. And to be perfectly honest, on the car, you would not feel this. Like, you could call this good. But I like to get my stuff as perfect as possible. So we're going to make one more pass on this. Just one more. One more. Lock that down. Lock that down. Send it. Alright. Hopefully this is the very, very last pass. As per usual, most technicians will feel me out there on this. They ordered this stuff for a 4-cylinder version of the car, not the 6-cylinder. So I'm still waiting on the right caliper up. And of course, in typical parts guy fashion and service center fashion, they're blaming it on the VIN number, but the VIN number is correct. But it comes up in the computer as a 2.4. But at any rate, I'm going to have to end this video after this pass. Whether we're done with the rotor or not, unfortunately, just because we're down to the last 15% of battery life. in a little bit further, like this piece right here, you can adjust this in a little bit more. We're just getting to them rough spots out there toward that outer edge. Brake pad don't actually even ride out there, but we're going to try and get it all as flat and true as possible, all the way out. Come on, machine, hurry up and finish before the camera dies. I really want to show them the finished friggin' product. Unfortunately, on these solid rotors, it's just hard to kind of combat that singing like that. Come on, finish up. All right, let's take a look. All right, so minimum thickness, I believe, was 10.5. So in this one, we have 10, well, it said 10.39, but it's at, there we go. This is, I bumped it, but 10.39, so we're still, no, hang on, let me double check that. That one didn't work. I'm sorry, it was 10.1 was the minimum. So we are still good with the rear. But anyway, you guys have a good day. Thank y'all for watching. Oh shit, my phone's literally going to die. All right, bye.